prospects are coming up. Javier Baez has been promoted to the big leagues by the Cubs. On this week's episode, we'll talk about the Baez promotion. We'll discuss the moves that were made prior to the trade deadline, look at the progress of a few prospects in the minor league system. We'll answer some listener questions, hear Kurt's scary stat of the week, and read some internet muscle flexes. It is August 4th, 2014, and you're listening to the 265th episode of the IVNB podcast. Hi, and thanks for downloading this week's episode of the IVMB podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Corey, and joining me through a Google Plus Hangout, the other host of this podcast.
Hi, it's Andy.
And this is Kurt.
We put these episodes out every week, and if you'd like to watch and listen live, you can go to ivmb.com/live, typically on Sunday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Central. This week's episode is coming out a day late because the internet gods did not cooperate with us last night, and I think as soon as this Baez promotion happened, we had so many Facebook comments and tweets and stuff coming at us like, this is why it didn't work last night.
It's amazing.
It was just meant to be.
Thank the internet gods. Usually I'm cursing them.
Right. And everything right now seems to be working okay, so hopefully this continues for the next hour or so. But our schedule
There's someone at MediaCom. There must be somebody at MediaCom that's really well connected to baseball knowledge and was shutting us off.
Our schedule does get a little bit more inconsistent over the summer, but we usually try to give you a heads up on Facebook or Twitter if we're rescheduling it, and you can find us there by going to ivmb.com/Facebook, and we're at IVMB on Twitter. Also, as far as the social networks go, we are at IVMB Podcast on Instagram, and we have a Google Plus page, ivmb.com/Google. And we will have another bonus episode for you this upcoming week. We've had a few out here over the last month or so, and this will probably go up on Thursday morning. And on that episode, I talked with Randy Wayhofer, and I hope I pronounced his last name right, Wayhofer, I think. And Randy is the play-by-play voice of the Iowa Cubs, so you're going to want to listen to that discussion. We talked about Baez, so of course it's outdated now, but well, not really. We didn't get into too much about when a promotion might happen, but we talked about his development and stuff. We talked about Baez, Bryant, Soler, and Manny Ramirez, and quite a bit more. So again, that will go up on Thursday, very early Thursday morning, so it'll be ready for your drive to work, I guess. If you live in the U.S., if you live in Europe, it's not going to be ready for your drive to work. So, guys, did you hear the Cubs promoted this guy, Javier Baez? How excited are you guys?
That's cool and everything, but let's talk about Felix Doubront coming to the Cubs.
Well, I wanted to hit the Jonathan Martinez for Darwin Barney first.
the player to be named later. Let's cover that first. Come on. First things first, guys. Yeah, first off, I'm surprised more people are not referring to Javier Baez by his real first name, Ednell.
Ednell, yeah.
I mean, should we start the Ednell bandwagon?
Yeah, for sure.
Unless you
what's that?
Put us on his shit list or something, he won't make it. At the end, we guess you call him Ednell.
Oh, Kurt, you sound crazy. But anyways, I don't know. So I was trying to think of as this happened today. Okay. So here's what happened. I took a lunch at work, and it's my first day back to work. Of course, this happens on my first day back. And I had to go pick up some chicken feed. So I'm down at Farm and Fleet, and I just glance at my phone for a second, and it says Baez. That's all it says. And I was like, holy shit, they just promoted him. And then my phone had 27% battery left, and instantly my phone died. Like Twitter exploded and killed my phone.
Your phone just said Baez on it, like
No, I mean like no, I got a tweet.
it's like your phone just knew.
That was Siri.
Right. No, and then so man, I was like, so I'm in public, and I'm trying to really figure out why. I was so okay. This sounds kind of crazy, but this is exactly what it felt like. Is in like '07 and '08, mainly '07. I was so excited when the Cubs went into the playoffs. I remember that like I'm working, and all I can think about is the Cubs being in the playoffs, especially before they started. Before they lost the games. Like before it started, I was so excited. I was listening to like all the Cubs baseball songs I could find, and I was just like so excited. And then like as soon as I saw that Baez was promoted, like I just got a little hint of that. Like it was that same excitement. And I thought, man, I have not, and I posted this on our Facebook page. This is our 265th episode. I don't know if we've had anything this good to talk about, and all it is somebody moving up a level.
Boy, now I'm trying to think of stuff.
Well, okay, so I guess I'm wondering, like, did you guys have that same just wave of excitement?
I will say, the way I found out was similar to Corey, in that Corey just texted Baez. So I saw it, and I was...
No, that was just my phone.
What?
That was my phone.
Baez
Acting on its own.
It's a Baez exclamation point. So I was just... At first, I just thought, what's he talking about? And then, that lull, and 2 seconds later, I was like, no way. But I was sitting at my desk. I'm surrounded... And we have open workspaces, so I didn't get too audibly excited, but I definitely felt a little tingle.
Did you excuse yourself to the restroom?
Yeah, just got up slowly, walked backwards.
See, I had the little quiver when I saw that text too. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think a lot of Cubs fans did. I mean, like, granted, it was kind of one of those things where, if you were paying attention to Twitter, I think it got a little bit, I think everybody got themselves excited. But man,
yeah,
it's
how about
just
Brett from Bleacher Nation.
The Cookie Monster tweet was
so good, so good. But I mean, it's just we're due, like we're due to feel good about something, and it doesn't. I mean, this does not put us any closer to any. We knew he was going to make it up to the big leagues, and
right.
He's been dominating lately, and so this doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't mean we're like pushing for a wild card spot this year or anything like that, but just something good happened. Like we drafted someone high, and it should be mentioned, I guess, that Jim Hendry drafted him high with the help of Tim Wilkin and others. But anyways, and he made it through the system, and he's still super young, and he destroyed baseballs everywhere he went, and now he's up. Like it's just like. It's not doesn't mean there's success there, but he got this far, and it's just exciting. We just haven't had much to get excited about. We haven't had hardly anything to feel good about.
But I've had a sense of this impending good feeling, for a while, and then now it's here. And then the cool thing is it's just the beginning.
Right. Yeah. But it was like that first one, like Alcantara coming up. That like that. What's that, Kurt?
You never forget the first time.
Right. Well, I mean, Alcantara coming up, like that was kind of exciting when Junior Lake came up. When Junior Lake came up last year, that was kind of exciting. But like this is the first, like
yeah.
Like well, this is kind of I think we were pretty excited when Castro got called up. But I mean, this is like okay, these are the pieces that are coming together. Like yeah, I don't know, it feels different and it. It's just nice that we have one off day to get really excited.
Yeah,
I saw somebody tweeted. I'm sorry, I don't know who it was, but they said I'm expecting 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. That way, I can't be disappointed no matter what.
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of curious. Like, what are your expectations?
I think he'll do okay. I don't think he's going to go like 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. I mean, debuts tend to go better than this is total anecdotally, but like Castro hit a home run, I think in his first at bat, didn't he?
He had a great debut game, and Lake did too.
Yeah, Lake had a great game. So it just seems like debuts tend to go pretty well, but I don't know that means anything either.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of think
going to be that well prepared, for a player like him.
And his first series is in the thin Colorado air, so that's
yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see. I mean, obviously, like his coach, the pitchers' coaches for the Rockies will say, this guy has stuff you can exploit. They'll already know, but
right. And I mean, they the Rockies, their minor league team plays the Iowa Cubs frequently. I mean, isn't that who they were playing when we went there?
Yeah,
I think they were. Yeah,
the Solar Sox.
No, not the Solar Sox.
Who was it?
The
Solar Sox.
No, they're the they're the Colorado Springs. Oh my gosh, something Sox.
Sky Sox.
Rock Sox. I don't know.
Sky Sox.
Sky Sox. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so they're obviously going to have some internal data on him, but I think what we're going to see is something similar to what we see when a lot of prospects come up. They're going to do really well for the first week or so, and then they're going to struggle. And honestly, like, I'm okay with that. I don't have great expectations for Baez this year, because this year is already a lost cause. This is him with basically 2 solid months to come up and just figure out or go through your struggles now, and then I think we'll see next year. I think like to start off the season next year, we will see a player that's more I guess prepared for major league pitching than we're going to see this week.
A little more disciplined, maybe.
Right.
For sure, and he's shown the ability to adjust to the different levels of pitching. I mean, he struggled in Iowa at first, and then lately he's been doing pretty well. So the fact that he struggled a little bit when he started to see those more, those better pitchers in the Pacific Coast League, and then he was able to adjust to that, and he'll be able to do that at the big league level too.
Yeah, and so I was going to kind of try to slip in a scary stat, but I think probably now is a better time to share some of those. But in April, he hit 172 in 15 games, and then in July, in 29 games, he hit 300. So he's seeing the ball a lot. But I mean, his averages through the months were April 172, May 250, June 275, July 300. So you can tell he was improving, and lately he was just really hot. He was racking up the home runs, but also still taking a lot more walks than he had been before. So he was definitely getting better.
Didn't he in his last game hit 2 homers and get 2 walks?
Yep.
So I think too, it's worth noting that he kind of struggled at every level when he first went there, and then he figured things out and developed and probably adjusted his game to be able to succeed at that level. And so I think we are going to see some struggles. Another thing too is looking at how he did struggle in April. That's kind of common in cold. Des Moines cold in April, and this was a really sucky April, and so I wouldn't, and I think that how he played at the beginning of the year when the weather was colder and he was trying to adjust to AAA pitching. I mean, that really kind of impacted his numbers, overall numbers. So I think so what's his batting average now? Like 265, I think,
260.
or something. 260.
Yeah, 260 total.
I mean, I think you can kind of bump that up a little bit just based on what April was like, but I still think we're going to see him struggle here for the last couple of months, and I'm just hoping, like, on one hand, it's like, okay, I'm kind of happy that like Cubs fans have something to be excited about today. It's just, and I think we're kind of like also poking fun of ourselves, the fact that we are so excited about it, and that really there's no guarantee or anything like that. But at the same time, I just hope that if he struggles, you don't get those idiots that are like, see, prospects don't work. Like I will not say based on the first 2 months of this season of his major league career or anything he's done in the minors that is a guarantee that he will be a success. And I don't want to hear like anybody that says, "Oh, he struggles." He struggled in his first 2 months. In the 24 at the end of the 2014 season. So that's why this rebuild's going the wrong direction or whatever. I hope to like you just don't get that. But heck,
You will.
It's sports fans. Yeah, we will. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're
And
guaranteed.
to be honest, if he does great, I will say, yeah, he's a success. See, I told you guys.
Well, we're at least guaranteed to see some ridiculous home runs, at least a few, in the month of August. So and September.
Should we do an over under in these 2 months? How many home runs do you think he's gonna hit?
Oh no.
I'll do it. What's our over under number?
Let's say 8.
I would go under it. I was gonna say like 7 or 8. So either under or push, but not over.
So he had 23 homers with Iowa.
I think he'll hit 8 or 9. Because knowing him,
he did hit 10 in July.
Right, and it's going to be warm at Wrigley. Hopefully, we can get some days with the wind blowing out. And I mean, if knowing Baez and watching him tape of him and stuff, he wants to hit home runs. I guarantee you, he is going to be like just aiming for those rooftops. So I don't know. I'm going to say he hits 8 or 9. So
yeah, I think it's part of it's going to be too how many at bats he gets, but
just for
should be a fair number.
I think he's going to start almost every game.
Yeah, it would be still silly to bring him up and not put him in the lineup.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's been playing second exclusively for the past few weeks in Iowa, and so it sounds like Alcantara is going to be playing center.
Unfortunately, after he made that amazing play, and now he's going to get bumped.
That's all right. He can cover a lot of ground, so why not put him in center?
Yeah.
Andy, did you decide on an over/under? I didn't hear
for Baez. I said over. I'll take the over.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't really know. Like, is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about with Baez? I mean, when I was thinking about, okay, how are we going to talk about this thing? We've spent so much time talking about him over the last really 2 or 3 years. And by the way, I do want to mention too, Andy and I had the opportunity to interview Baez when he was in Peoria. And so if you go to our website, ivmv.com, on the right-hand side, we have some interviews that we've done there, and you can click on his to listen to it. And it's only about 10 minutes long or whatever, but yeah, that's worth listening to. I meant to listen to it today. Just to, like I was really looking forward to like when he got called up so that I could listen to that and kind of remember when he was
Remember when you touched him without him noticing?
I thought today I was like, hey,
put my hand on your shoulder.
Today I was like, hey, I've interviewed a Major League Baseball player. He was 19 at the time, or 18 or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, anything else you guys want to talk about? I feel like
it's time to play now. That's the cool part. Now it's just time to.
Yeah, so we were supposed to meet. Andy and I were going to go down to Peoria because King County is down there. We were going to meet listener Tim, and after this happened, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to watch King County. Sorry. So Tim's going to join Andy and I at Duffy's. So if you're from the Quad Cities and you're listening, or anywhere in Central Illinois, and you want to go to the official, what was the hashtag? IVMV Javier Baez MLB debut at Duffy's.
It'd be a late night.
Yeah, I know. It starts at 8, but that's all right. It's Duffy's.
Duffy's on a Tuesday.
Just being a little bit tired on Wednesday.
Yep. Yeah. So, anyways, if you do want to join us, tweet at me or just meet us there or send me an email or something. Because I know we have some people in the area that listen. All right. So let's get into the exciting stuff here, guys. Let's talk about that trade deadline.
Now that we got that out of the way.
The trade deadline is passed, so we're going to talk a little bit about the events in the last week as far as trades go. In the last episode, when you guys were out here, we talked about Darwin Barney being traded, and now we know who the player to be named later was or is.
He is a Venezuelan-born pitcher named Jonathan Martinez. He was picked up young, like most of the international players were, probably 16 years old. So he is still young. He's only 20 now, but he's been in the Dodgers system for 4 years. So a lot of people might kind of think he's kind of a throwaway, moving his way up slow, but he is only 20. He's a right-hander, and he's had really good minor league numbers. So I don't think he's not a terrible pickup for a guy that they designated and clearly didn't want. In his first outing with King County, he pitched 5 innings and allowed just 3 hits and 1 run. He's got 3-pitch repertoire and fastball, slider, and changeup. So he doesn't project to be anything, top of the rotation, but could be a back end rotation guy. So he's still got some time to develop because he's still young.
Cool. And then there was another, I guess, non-blockbuster trade, and Andy, you already referenced that you've been really excited about the acquisition of Felix Dubront from the Red Sox. I feel stupid even talking about anything else today.
I know, yeah, it does feel, it feels a little lame, but other stuff happened to the Cubs, you guys. Come on, man. Felix Dubront was traded to the Cubs from Boston for a player to be named later. Whenever I see PTBNL, I always think of peanut butter for some reason.
Peanut butter jelly.
They probably take some peanut butter. Anyway, Felix Dubront is another pitcher who they're kind of seeing as a change of scenery type guy. He never really pitched that well with Boston, but I don't know. I guess people think that he has good enough stuff. I mean, Theo was the one who brought him to Boston, or signed him, I guess, because he's from Venezuela. But I watched some video of him, and he has some pretty good movement on a low 90s, usually 90 or 91 mile per hour. Appears to be like a cutter or 2-seamer. Is that the same thing? And then also, a slider and a curveball as well. And sometimes he gets really great movement on that curve from some of the videos I was watching. But anyway, he's been pretty terrible in Boston. He started out in the rotation. In his time in Boston, he gave up 40 earned runs and 59.1 innings pitched, and that came out to a 6.07 ERA. And so they moved him to the bullpen. He had an injury for a little while, and they moved him to the bullpen, and he just did worse there. He came out publicly saying he wanted to be returned to the rotation, and so perhaps that led to him falling out of favor a little bit there. But he wants a pitch, he wants the ball, he wants to be in the starting rotation. The only problem now is he's on the DL because he has a calf strain, I believe, something like that, something minor. But he'll be back.
So what? Probably go to Iowa and then.
That's probably what's going to happen. He's probably going to start in Iowa, and we'll see if he sees any time with the Cubs at all this season.
And that's not uncommon too, because he might not be hurt. He might they just didn't want to dump him onto the 40-man yet, given they had some decisions to make. So this way they've delayed that decision.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess the kind of question is, I mean, I haven't looked at this too much, but it seems like there's kind of some makeup questions, I guess, based on his what he said publicly when he was in Boston. So
and then even how he's been interviewed after. I guess he did an interview after, and he's like, "No, I never said those things." He's kind of denied some things versus, I don't know. It's hard to really.
So I don't think Theo, having signed him when he was in the front office for the Red Sox, would bring him in if he knew he was a terrible, would be a clubhouse cancer or something like that.
Right. Well, let's see. I guess the Cubs have Theo has brought over other players with a checkered history from Boston. Manny Ramirez is who I'm talking about. And it seemed to work okay.
Solely responsible for the promotion of Javier Baez.
Right. So, I mean, I've even seen, I don't remember who, but I saw somebody kind of raising the question. Let's get back into Javier Baez talk. That, he was kind of, that is basically why Manny Ramirez was brought there. And so does that mean, Theo has said Manny will not be, a player for the Cubs, for the big league team. But maybe he'll join the staff as some sort of coach or something like that.
Well, there have been some results. Soler spent a ton of time with him in Arizona when he was hurt, and then quickly made his way to AAA, and then Baez has turned it on since he got there. It's a stretch for a correlation, but it certainly hasn't hurt.
What else do we have to go on?
So it hasn't hurt the young hitters. Let's just say that.
Soler is destroying.
Yeah. So let's go with this. Let's say this. I'm going to make a bold prediction. Ricky will be fired after next season, and Manny Ramirez will be the manager that leads the Cubs to the World Series.
No way, dude.
And then he gets banned for doing PEDs as a manager.
You can't get on board with that, Andy? Write it down.
Oh,
August 4th, 2014. Write it down.
Because I don't think you're being serious.
All right, we'll see. Well, in other trade news, I was at the Cubs game on Thursday at Wrigley, and the trade deadline passed while I was in the ballpark. So thanks to Twitter, I was able to see that James Russell and Emilio Bonifacio had been traded. Unfortunately, I missed Russell giving hugs in the bullpen, and I guess he was talking to fans on his way into the clubhouse. My nose was buried in my scorecard. And by the way, I haven't filled a scorecard out in a couple of years. And this thing was gorgeous at the end of the game. It was beautiful. In fact, I looked today to see what the last scorecard I filled out was, and some of the players, it was actually at a, I don't remember. Never mind. I'm not going to go down that road. Scratch that conversation. But anyways, it was a nice, clean game, and the one thing that kind of had me tripped up a little bit was there was a triple switch by the Rockies. And I, not being familiar with their players and not knowing exactly who was going where in the field, it kind of hung me up for a few minutes, but I got it all sorted out. But yeah, the Cubs sent James Russell and Bonifacio to the Braves, and I believe Russell had been the longest tenured Cubs player, and so now Starlin Castro holds that honor. And I was trying to think of kind of how to summarize or recap Russell's career with the Cubs, and I don't know. He's just James Russell. I don't know. I just couldn't. I was like, how do you? He's just the guy that was in there sometimes. And
that's so Russell. He came in pitch lights out. That's so Russell, and then he comes in and gives up a homer right away. That's so Russell.
Yeah,
it's all the same.
Corey, and my first experience with Mr. Russell was at spring training, and when we saw him and Dempster walking in, we thought he was Randy Wells.
Yes. I don't think we thought he was Wells, but we did think he was someone else.
We didn't really know who he was, but we knew he was a pitcher. I mean, we knew he'd played for the Cubs, but we were more interested in talking to Dempster.
Right. Dempster was a lot more recognizable, and did not
sort of
want to be recognizable.
No.
So I don't know. I mean, the Cubs just kind of used the crap out of him there for a few years, 2012 and 2013. 2012 was kind of his peak. He wasn't a big strikeout guy, and after those 2 seasons, he started walking more batters. And I guess what it just boiled down to is the Cubs didn't need him. They have a lot of bullpen options, and if someone wanted to take Russell, then so be it. He's getting towards the end of his arbitration years, and I think there's just more affordable loogie options out there. He made $1.7 million this year, and so I'd imagine that would go up right around 2 for 2015, and I think the Cubs just figured they could get somebody cheaper to fill that role, although they did send some cash in the deal too. But Bonifacio was the other player involved, and it was so hilarious. I heard people saying oh yeah, of course the Cubs traded away Bonifacio. He was good, and let's not forget that the Royals released him before the season started, and the Cubs just kind of pulled him off the trash heap. And really outside of Rizzo and Castro, his performance in April was one of the few enjoyable things to watch early in this season. And it was one thing I thought was pretty hilarious was that leading up to the trade deadline, the Royals were rumored to have been interested in him. So it would have been hilarious if they released him before the season started and then traded for him just a few months later.
That would be amazing.
But you got to think like a guy like him is not going to have any hard feelings toward the Cubs or his time with the Cubs because they gave him a chance and he was able to rebuild his value as a player.
Right. Yeah, and I mean he was really fun to watch in April. And even when after he got injured and he came back, he played well here for the last week or two that he was there. I don't remember exactly how many games he was. I don't know, maybe 10 or something. I can't remember, but. He played well. But so overall, this season with the Cubs, he hit 279, 14 doubles and 3 triples. He had 14 stolen bases. And he really just kind of gave the Cubs speed, that the team really lacked at that time. So in return, the Cubs got Victor Caratini, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but Caratini was the Braves' second-round draft pick in last year's draft. He's a catcher. He's hitting 279 with a 757 OPS, 5 home runs and single A for the Braves. So the Cubs assigned him to Kane County. So I don't know if I get a chance to go down to Peoria at some point this week and maybe get a look at him. Jed Hoyer said that he really liked, or that the Cubs liked Caratini, and the Cubs apparently had their eye on him in the draft last year. And he said that, pointed out that the Cubs have that organizational weakness at catcher, and this is going to help them with depth. Switch hitter, so that's good, and it's really just kind of a pretty low-risk move. I mean, the Cubs traded away 2 guys that aren't in the long-term plans. I'm pretty sure Bonifacio was a free agent after the season. Russell was after next season. So it kind of just gave them some depth at a position that they're weak at, and really I think part of what made this possible too was with Alcantara coming up, that gave the Cubs some flexibility to move both Bonifacio and Barney, and we're going to see, and now with Baez coming up, I mean it really no need for those guys. I mean that'll be hopefully that will be one of those things where like, who was the Cubs second baseman? Who was the Cubs starting second baseman when Javier Baez took over? Who started that season, but so, we're starting to see more of these potentially long-term pieces come up, and the Cubs are starting to move some of those placeholders. So it's a good thing to see at this stage in the rebuild. So I guess we've seen some fireworks at the trade deadline the last few years, and this was a fairly quiet deadline, a few days for the Cubs. I think mainly because the Samardzija and Hammel trades went down earlier in the month. But were there any players that weren't moved that you kind of expected to be? Actually, I think we have a listener question that kind of addresses that. I'm trying to scroll through them real quick. And I think we do have one, but I can't find it. So, here we go. Jordan says, "Are you happy with what the Cubs did at the deadline, or do you think they should have done more?" So, kind of the same question.
I think they still are going to be able to do a couple more things during August via waivers. For example, I think Villanueva is going to go. I'm not. I've seen other people saying that too, so it's not just.
It's not your inside sources or telling you.
Listen to this insight, guys. I'm about to drop on you. Like Villanueva could be gone. I forget who it was, what source it was, but they cited some other teams having trouble with their long relievers going down. For example, Paul Maholm of the Dodgers, former Cub Paul Maholm of the Dodgers. It seems like that could be looking for somebody who could do what Villanueva has done for the Cubs. I also see Nate Schierholtz's days being numbered, and I don't know that very little trade value. So he could just end up, I don't know, being released, really.
Yeah, I think that they might keep him just for a little bit of. I mean, he is kind of a veteran, I guess, and so I think that they'll keep him just for that. But I mean, he's a free agent at the end of the year, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah, and those are the two guys I would say too. But remember Scott Harrison got dealt last year, and he was having a similarly poor year to Shearholtz. And
was he hitting 195?
He was hitting somewhere around 190 something.
Did he have an OPS of 547? Because I don't know.
He was not good last year. I remember thinking, God, how did they get anything for him? But Villanueva, I suppose, was a bit of a surprise. And then there was also the talk about the Yankees wanting Edwin Jackson, but I don't know how serious any of that was. So I guess those are the only guys that I suppose could have been dealt, but overall I was pretty happy with what they did.
Right. And so now for a player to be traded after the deadline, they have to clear waivers.
Right, and the other important sort of significant difference is that even if you pick a guy up on a waiver after the non-waiver deadline, he can't play on your playoff roster. So it does throw a wrench into that situation that he's only going to help you for an even shorter amount of time if you think you're going to make the playoffs. But that doesn't make deals stop. They still happen. So we'll see.
We were kind of talking about Bonifacio having a lot more value probably, in 2015 just because of how he played with the Cubs. And, man, you hear about those players, you see this all the time where players perform really well that season right before they become a free agent, that kind of contract year bump. And, I mean, man, Shearholtz, he's really hurt himself in the free agent market, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But
one other thing I wanted to sort of bring up, though, about as far as like trade deadline stuff, I think one thing you got to give the front office a lot of credit for is making the Samardzija Hammel deal as early as they did, because you saw a lot of elite pitchers. Not a lot. You saw Price and I'm drawing a blank. Red Sox.
Lester.
Lester.
Yeah, Lester get dealt, and if those guys come on the market at the same time, you try to make those deals, you just never know what's going to happen. And now you look at the return they got out of Samardzija and Hammel, and it's just making them look even smarter for having done that deal on July 5th.
Yeah. July 4th, actually. It's a date that I will remember for years.
But I don't think
they get
Addison
on July 5th, but it happened on July 4th.
They don't get Addison Russell on July 31st.
No, I don't think so. Nope. Well, I did mention that I went to Thursday's game. I wanted to thank Doug, who listens to the podcast. Doug sent me a few tickets to the game, and I took my mom up there, and we had a great time. And I was really excited to see Arrieta pitch, and he was perfect into the fourth, I believe, which you guys sent me a text that said, "Don't jinx it." It was, I think, in the fourth, and you didn't have to worry about me doing that because the guy next to me did it with either 1 or 2 outs in the second inning. He went ahead and announced to everyone that he had a no-hitter and perfect game going. So
did anyone say anything to him? Like, what are you doing?
You know what? Man, baseball fans are stupid. I mean, okay, let me put it this way. There was a lady sitting near us who was very vocal in her support of the Cubs, but also very vocal in her lack of knowledge with the Cubs. So at the end of the game, Cubs called in. I think Rondon got the save. I think, yeah. I think so.
Check your scorecard.
I know I don't have it here. But anyways, while I don't remember. Shoot, that's gonna bug me now. I can't remember who got the save. But anyways, the lady next to us in the 9th inning, and she had been drinking, so she got more and more vocal as it went on. She was rooting for Carlos, and I'm pretty sure she thought that was Carlos Marmol up there.
I thought you were going to say like Carlos Rodon that got drafted by the White Sox and isn't playing in the major leagues.
No, I think she thought it was Marmol. And also, this really got to me too. And luckily, I think my mom was somewhat like shielded from it because I think I kind of blocked her from a lot of the ladies ranting and stuff. But she complained every time that the ump called ball in the last few innings when the Cubs were pitching. I hate it when fans complain about balls and strikes. Like, let's just trust that the umpire has a better view than you do and shut up. But I don't know. The seats were awesome. It was a beautiful day. I had tons of fun. It was really nice to go up there with my mom. So I wanted to thank Doug for that opportunity. And while we're talking about games, the Cubs are hosting Social Media Night again this year. It's August 21st. So I'm going to be going up for that. I'm going up with Michael from Galesburg, I believe. And it's a good time. And if you pay attention to the Cubs chatter on Twitter, you'll recognize a lot of the Twitter handles with people up there. They give you like name tags so you can put that so people can, if you put your real names, nobody'd know who anybody was. But if, with the Twitter handles, it makes it kind of fun to see people in person. And so, I don't know. It's a day to be social. So I really kind of forced I can sometimes be a little bit aloof, maybe. I don't know exactly how to. I can kind of just be by myself, and that's okay. And that's kind of what I was doing. But then, like, there was a group of guys, and they were like, "Hey, come sit by us." So I don't know. It's just a day to hang out with people and use the term social to kind of be social with people.
Talk to other humans.
Right, exactly. But I don't know. I don't think they've released all the details, but I don't know. I think this is my third year. This will be my third year doing it. It's a lot of fun, and so.
Are they giving away the first pitch again?
Yeah, they're giving away the first pitch. Right. So I'm trying to think of like how there was maybe 250 or 300 people at the event last year. I may be way off on the numbers, but everybody fit into the Captain Morgan's Club. So you meet there. They had like two idiots that I can't stand up there, Wilbon and Darren Ravel up there talking, and hopefully they don't go down that road again this year because I don't know, I can't stand either one of them. But
love Wilbon.
But
it's gonna be Kornheiser this year.
Oh gosh, and I hope they don't. I don't know. I would almost rather there be like kind of a panel about. Like talking about social media or something like that. I mean, that's kind of what they were doing. But you get two people up there that just have big egos and they're just going to talk about themselves, And I mean, like I seem to remember somebody asking a question about social media, and I can't remember at all what the person asked. And the guy, I can't remember what social network he referred to, and both the guys were like, I've never even heard of that. I don't know what that is. And it's like, I don't know. Like I kind of wish that there was, I don't know. But anyways, but yeah. So there's what 250 or 300 people, and then one of the people that bought those tickets, like you're going to get to throw out the first pitch. And then I remember a couple of years ago, bullpen Brian got to, and then They give away, like, they have quite a few like things from the Cubs Authentic store. So like W flags that have flown, and those are rare this year. And
they put a new one up every time.
Yeah, I think so because they sell it. And then like game used balls and bases and like I think they had like the flags like for Sandberg or something. I don't know. They had like those types of things, and then they like drew names and raffled those off. So it's actually pretty cool, like the thing that they do ahead of time, and just the fact that you can. And then they take everybody up, and you get like a reserved area in the bleachers, and you can sit up there, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. So if you're thinking about going, tweet at me or whatever. You can email me, and I don't know. We're probably going to get up earlier in the afternoon, so maybe we could, if anybody wants, we could meet for a drink or something ahead of time. Let's see. So, well, before we move on to listener questions, are there any minor league guys that you guys want to talk about this week? I don't know. Seems like we have to talk.
I probably did when we were going to do this last night, but now that we've loved on Baez for so much, I don't really.
Okay.
Well, I would say that I already mentioned Soler tearing it up in AAA.
You just gonna leave it at that?
But no, I wanted to bring up Almora. He's kind of been struggling, and don't hear him come up as much. He's not getting as much attention as the other prospects, but he's hitting .213 in Tennessee and only 47 at bats. So he hasn't played there long. 11 games, 47 at bats, but.
I mean, for me, it doesn't concern me when guys struggle right after a promotion.
Right.
Like I think that struggles are good. Like struggles in the minor leagues, I think are good for players. Like it actually kind of makes me nervous. More nervous when you have someone like Chris Bryant that just doesn't struggle because you know it's going to happen. He's not going to dominate major league pitching like he has minor league pitching.
I wouldn't say he's not for sure. It's possible. If anybody can do it, it might be him.
I don't know. I still like we haven't even.
He will
really...
at some point. He will at some point.
He'll struggle.
Yes.
Oh yeah. He's going to. And it's like has Chris Bryant ever in his life had to work his way out of a cold streak or something? And I like players, and especially someone like Javier Baez, who's really kind of had like 2 or 3 instances of, okay, I need to adjust things and I need to figure this out. And so it makes me nervous when you have somebody that could reach the major leagues and has never had to do that.
That's a good point.
And I think that's their kind of the philosophy of the front office too. They've said that too, that they want a guy to struggle at some point to see him work out of it, but.
Yeah, so it doesn't bother me at all to see Almora struggling at AA.
When at the very least, you think about like the guy just moved to a completely new city, and finding a new home and going through all that crap that they go through and playing baseball. That's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's a good point. They I remember listening to an episode of the Minor League Report, which was a podcast. Yeah. They actually stopped. They ended their podcast, unfortunately. I really liked listening to it, but they right at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, they talked about just kind of the behind the scenes. So these guys work for minor league teams. They're the broadcasters and stuff. And if you know minor league baseball, you don't just do one thing when you work for a minor league team. You pretty much do everything. And so they talked about really what players go through in going from spring training to wherever they're assigned and trying to find places to live and stuff like that. And so, sometimes we kind of forget about those types of things that players may be dealing with off the field. So, as far as minor leaguers go, I wanted to talk about C.J. Edwards. He was recovering from a shoulder injury, and he pitched a few games in the rookie league in Arizona, and now he's back with Tennessee. In his first game back, he went 3 1/3 innings, and he gave up 1 run on 2 hits. He struck out 5 and walked 2. And probably, the top-ranked pitcher in the Cubs system right now. His frame might make you a little bit nervous. He's 6'2" and 155. So, I guess just in looking at his frame, you wouldn't think he's real durable, but he's looking good coming back from that shoulder injury, and so it's a good sign that he's back and he's pitching well. So. All right, let's move on to listener questions. I got one here from Dawn, and she says, Red Sox fans seem pretty happy about getting rid of Felix Doubront. Think this is another Edwin Jackson-like gamble, and do the Cubs need to make any more room on the roster for September call-ups, or do the roster size limits increase? I can never remember all those details.
It's pretty different in many ways than Edwin Jackson, as they paid Edwin Jackson a pretty significant amount of money. Felix Doubront, this season, his contract's worth just over $500,000, and he's not a free agent until 2018. So it's like basically like
so it's a gamble without the money.
Right. And so he is arbitration eligible for the first time next season.
Which is probably another reason they wanted to get rid of him.
Right. So it's they're taking a guy who's struggled and hoping a change of scenery does him well. Not dissimilar to like Feldman and that type of thing.
Yeah. And then as far as the rosters go for September call-ups, the roster size it does increase to 40. The to 40 players, and does that happen on September 1st? I think it does.
It's
Yes,
the
it
first.
does.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. Now they don't necessarily like call. It's not like that on September 1st. They call up 15 more players.
The entire 40 men.
Right, and that's basically because, well, for one, I think there's some players that just aren't going to come up, and then there's also hopefully Iowa will be in the playoffs, and so they kind of sprinkle them throughout this, maybe the first week or two of September. It seems like. So, Clint, he says, "Oh, go ahead, Kurt."
Oh, I was just gonna say that there are some other off-season considerations that it's not quite, because like Baez and Valleca were not currently on the 40-man, so they had to use a spot. So sometimes they'll like to save a spot or know a guy's going to come off a 40-man spot for the off-season because they'll have to protect him like in a Rule 5 situation or something like that. But that's really digging even deeper into the weeds. So
yeah. Clint says, I'm going to watch the Cubs play the Blue Jays at Rogers Center on September 8th. It will be mine and my daughter's first Cubs game. Well, that's cool. That'll be a lot of fun. Congratulations on seeing. You guys remember your first Cubs game?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, when was
aforementioned Old Bush.
Oh.
Previous podcast, it was a Cubs Cards game at the Old Bush Stadium. It was probably 1991-ish. I'd have to look, but yeah.
How about you, Andy?
I remember.
Yeah, mine was an early 90s game at Wrigley, and we got tickets from someone else and sat pretty close to the first base line. And so got to see Mark Grace from not very far away, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, my first
my experience was one row from the top row. And I remember being scared to death that we were that high in the air. I was that young.
My first Cubs game was in 90. It was August 8th, 1990, because I remember it was 2 years after the first night game at Wrigley. And the Cubs played the Cardinals, and it went 15 innings, and the Cubs had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 15th, and Andre Dawson hit the game-winning RBI.
Wow,
that was pretty exciting. Yeah, it was. In fact, somewhere I have it on video somewhere, but it was a lot of fun. I had a blast. It was on a bus trip. Actually, I went up with my grandma, so
nice.
It was fun. Anyways, back to Clint's question. He asks when the rosters will expand, so that's on September 1st, and he says he's hoping to get to see Baez play. Well, so that's cool. You get to see that. And says his biggest fear is that Jackson will be pitching. I have to admit that was a fear of mine too. When I was looking at last Thursday's game earlier in the week, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't a Jackson start, is it? But I looked at it was Arrieta, so hopefully you get the same luck, Clint.
Well, and if it is a Jackson start, maybe you'll get the 1-4 like yesterday's start.
Yeah.
Where he actually had a good game. I watched the first inning. I think he loaded the bases in the first inning.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, here we go again.
Well, you remember he came out into the on deck circle like he was gonna bat, and I was like, what are they doing? And it was just decoying. I was like, that would have been his implosion inning if he'd have went back out.
Jason from New Mexico, he says, with everything the A's gave up to get Samardzija and Hammel, did the Cubs get more than the Rays got for Price?
Yes.
They did. I remember hearing people decrying what the Rays did get out of the Price deal. I don't think it was that great.
Yeah, well, I'll kind of take the other side, I guess, and just say that it's really too early to tell. I mean, I'm happy with what the Cubs got for Samardzija and Hammel, and the Rays got one major league player, another one that will soon be a major league player, and then a young guy. And I know that the Cubs are happy with what they got in return, and I don't know. I mean, the Rays must be too. I don't follow the Rays that well, but I guess for them to make that deal, at least internally, or at least publicly, they have to say that they're happy with the return. And they obviously took the best deal that was offered to them. So I guess time will tell, when dealing with prospects. And I suppose you could make the case that maybe the Rays got the more safe return, mainly because one player's already in the majors and another is so close. But that's what their organization needs, and the Cubs need depth, and they need to set up that long-term success. And I think that's what their move accomplished. So I don't know much about the guys that the Rays got, but I'd say that the ceiling is higher on what the Cubs got in return, and maybe the Rays move was a little more safe, maybe.
Yeah,
Well,
and
they
I'm
did
just
get a
trying to
major.
take the other side of things.
Well, the Rays did get a major league pitcher in Drew Smiley,
Right.
and then they got a couple prospects, but the prospects aren't the same impact players that the
Caliber.
Cubs got. Yeah.
Right. If I had to choose between the two deals, I would take what the Cubs got in return.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Ricky says, I listen to every Cubs game I can on WGN radio, and every time I hear Pat Hughes make a good point, Ron always replies with the same thing. Yeah, I would have to agree, or I agree, or I second that, or couldn't agree more. I think that's annoying hearing every game. Have you guys had the same experience? I've not noticed that, but now I will. So, and I actually kind of like Coon Dog, so.
I didn't really notice it, but now that it was pointed out to me, it sort of like seemed to remember that being the case. But it certainly hasn't bothered me yet. But it's kind of funny how
Well, Pat does raise some good
announcers
points.
have their little,
Verbal.
yeah, little ticks.
We don't have any verbal ticks at all on this podcast. You know?
Yeah, our verbal ticks are silence. So,
yours are, mine aren't.
But no, I was the same boat as Corey, where like early in the season we were like, oh geez, Coom Dog. But now he's growing on me.
Yeah, spring training was like, I listened to the first couple games and I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I have to admit, like I don't listen to that many games on the radio. I'll start again now since I started back up at work today, so I'll start hearing more radio broadcasts. But from what I've heard this summer, I've actually liked listening to them.
I couldn't agree more.
Totally agree. And I will. This is sort of related, but not about Coom Dog. But when the Cubs played the Dodgers, with MLB TV, you can select what audio feeds you want of any available, like home or away, TV or radio. And I listened to Vin Scully the whole time, and that's just a pretty cool experience because it feels like it's the 50s or 60s again. Not that I lived then, but it's pretty cool. He's pretty amazing. Even though
I'm glad you brought up
Dodgers.
Vin Scully. I'm glad that you brought up Vin Scully because I have a muscle flex here in a little bit that involves Vin Scully.
He did. There was a point where he kind of made fun of the Cubs, it was actually funny. Like when a really old dude makes fun of you, it's like, haha, I'll take it. But it's like it doesn't get you too fired up.
Okay, James says, what's the average age on the Major League roster currently? Cubs got to be top 5.
All right. So I actually looked into this one.
So did I.
Oh, okay, you go ahead because
No, go ahead.
I could only find like start of the season stuff. So if you have current stuff, then you should.
Well, I think I did find the current thing, but it's very close. So what you found, was it 27.9? Is that what you found?
I found no, mine was 28.2, and the Astros were the youngest at 26.9, and the Cubs were at 7th at 28.2 years old.
So what I saw was 27.8 and still the 7th youngest. So roughly, I mean,
they are young, but I think they're younger now. So
right, yeah. I mean, if you look at Bonifacio and Russell both left, and Baez is there. So yeah, it's going to drop, especially until Lair comes and.
Although if Fujikawa comes,
right?
And that doesn't up. Is he like 33 or 4?
Yeah. Okay, Tad, he says, just for the sake of conversation, assuming no major off-season moves, what's your prediction for the 2015 opening day lineup?
Wow.
I have mine. Do you want me to read it and then you guys?
I don't have it written down, but yeah.
Okay, so I kind of struggled with starting pitcher, like opening day starting pitcher, so I went with Arrieta because I just don't see Edwin Jackson getting that. I don't know. So I went with Arrieta, catcher Castillo, first base Rizzo, second base Baez, shortstop Castro, third base Valbuena, left field Coughlin, center Alcantara in right field, Soler.
I could go with that.
I disagree.
I do not completely agree. No, go ahead.
No, I think that sounds fairly like a fairly reasonable guess. Like,
Yeah. Now, I mean, if you're asking me what the 2015 lineup is at the end of the season, I think you can probably take Valbuena out and
Right.
probably take Coughlin out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to have some pressure from Russell, and obviously Chris Bryant's going to be, but I think Bryant will be in left
Corner outfield spot.
Yeah.
So you have, that's going to be fun though, and it's like Bryant, Alcantara, Soler in the outfield, and then the infield of dreams with who knows where they land, but Russell and Castro and Baez and Rizzo.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that 2015 is going to be somewhat of a transitional thing, and I mean, we saw both Castro and Rizzo struggle in their sophomore years, that sophomore slump. So I think that, I don't think these guys are going to come in and everybody's going to play perfectly, but I mean, man, 2015 is going to be exciting. And Andy, how excited are you about spring training?
I was actually just thinking about that a ton today, man. I'm pumped for it. My voice never betrays enthusiasm, but like seriously, I'm really looking forward to it.
I posted on our Facebook page yesterday. I can't even remember how it came up in conversation. Oh, we were talking about T-shirts and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I've kind of been looking at IBMV shirts, and I want to just kind of look at our options and stuff, because I've had some people asking for them in the last month or so. I've had some people asking, and so I'm like, I've kind of like put it off because I just kind of don't want to deal with it. But I was like, well, if people want them, it'd be cool to have. And then she goes, yeah, and then when you go to spring training next year, you can give some away out there. And I was like, yes. Going to spring training. She said it. I have to write it down.
She said it.
Timestamp.
Because I've been like kind of too scared to bring it up. So yeah, I've kind of hinted a few times.
All of a sudden, you click off a micro cassette recorder, and you're like, "Thank you, that's all I needed."
He's got his talk boy out.
I should be talk boy. I should tomorrow night I'll be like, what was it? You had a really good idea about my about those T-shirts. What was that idea you had?
Where did you want me to give them away?
Click, kids, we're home early.
So I don't know. I'm so excited. And then today was my first day back at work, and I was like putting my calendar into my, in my computer calendar and everything, and I was like, spring training.
See, that was one of my activities today too. Was like just mapping out all the meetings and everything, and then seeing that block in March.
You guys are killing me. We got to move on.
So Andy, I'll get with you to make sure we got our dates are lined up, and
I might just end up.
Our cycles are lined up.
I'll grab a last-second flight out and just show up.
Yeah, because after I posted about it on Facebook, a couple of people mentioned, maybe like an IVMV meetup out there, or party, or tour. I love it out there.
Party.
Killing me.
All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Ian from Montreal. He says, I'd like to know more about the new rule involving the catcher and blocking home plate. Seems very unclear. So, what do you guys want to... Are you guys...
I only have I don't have a clear explanation, so you go ahead.
Okay, so here's the deal. The runner cannot run out of a direct line from third to home to kind of initiate contact with the catcher, and if he does, then the umpire can call him out. At the same time, the catcher cannot block the pathway of the runner without the ball, and if he does, then the runner can be called safe. So basically, I guess if you possess the ball, then you can block home plate. So that's
and then that's the biggest difference is that catchers that was just what they did is like prior to receiving the ball, they'd already set up their foot like in front of home plate.
Yeah.
And then Buster Posey got just jacked up, so
seemed to be a major catalyst in this rule change.
Yeah. So hopefully that cleared it up for you, Ian. Taylor in the chat, he says that he would take an IVMB shirt. He said we should make them with muscle flexes on the back. So yeah, so I mean, this is something I want to work on here in the next few months. So if you have ideas for designs for IVMB shirts, then email them to me or tweet them to us or whatever, because I want to hear some. I think our listeners at times are more creative than we are. Actually, I know they are. They're all the time more creative than we are. All right, so thanks to everybody for sending in those questions. And usually the day of recording, I'll just kind of post on our Facebook page, like, hey, give us your questions if you have any. And so if you want to send them to us, you can do it that way or any other way, email or whatever. If you shop on, and we're going to skip a break, but if you shop on Amazon, you can go to our website, ivmb.com, click on the Amazon link on the side of the page, and Amazon gives us a kickback for your purchase. It doesn't cost you anything extra at all. Another thing is we are in iTunes and Stitcher and everything, obviously, and we would appreciate your reviews in iTunes and Stitcher. You can leave reviews in Stitcher too, but those help us as far as visibility goes and everything. And so you can give us a rating, a review, and then if you do, we'll read your review on the show. And then also Patreon. If you'd like to help support our show, and you can get some IVMB stickers. I got pretty much everything mailed out. We have a new edition, thanks to Sean for jumping on board, and he pledged last week, so I have to send his stuff out. But everybody should pretty much have everything. There's one other thing I have to. I still have to order one more pint glass for my mom. I'm making her wait the longest, I guess. So if you didn't get your package this last week, let me know, because maybe your address has changed or I wrote it down wrong or something like that. But you can get, if you support us through Patreon, you can get IVMB stickers, posters, even the aforementioned pint glass with our logo on it, lots of other perks. And so check out our Patreon campaign. And if you're not familiar with Patreon, it's kind of like Kickstarter for content producers. And pledging level start at just $1 a month. That's less than 25 cents per episode. And that financial support, it kind of, we get through Patreon. It helps us cover our costs. It helps us upgrade equipment and hopefully our internet speeds. So that improves. We don't run into things like we did last night. And it also allows us to put money towards IVMB events and things that will eventually benefit the listeners. So, and then also after this show, or at some point here in the next day, we need to do a drawing, because everybody that pledged on our Patreon page by the last day in July was eligible for a Javier Baez Iowa Cubs T-shirt jersey, and so we need to do the drawing for that to pick a winner. Kurt, do you have a scary stat of the week?
I do. It's a pretty short and simple one, and it's actually been updated in the last 24 hours since we didn't record. But currently, now that Baez is on the 25-man roster, 11 of the 25 players on the roster have played in Iowa at some point this year. And I suppose if you wanted to exclude Castillo's rehab start, the other 10 have actually played significant time in Iowa. So pushing some pretty heavy numbers on the roster that are AAA players, but at least in this sense, they're young guys coming up instead of replacement scraps.
Right. That's actually a good thing right now.
Mm-hmm. But it is kind of. I tried to compare it to some other teams, but I didn't have time. I think the Rangers.
Do it yourself.
The Rangers have a ton of guys that are coming up from Round Rock.
They've had a ton of injuries down there.
90% of their roster and their pitching staff is from AAA.
I'm kind of hoping to go to a Rangers game next weekend. I'm hoping I can somehow fit it in. We're going to be in Dallas, and so we don't officially have plans that Friday night, and the Angels are in town. So I would kind of like to see that ballpark. All right, so internet muscle flexes. Do you guys have any? I've got a whole handful of them.
I don't actually have any. I've been trying to scroll through the ridiculous amount of comments on the newest.
Yeah, I got a couple from that,
but I haven't found anything. So.
I have one. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything. But
Well, how about I'll do a couple. I'll do my 3 non-Baez ones, and then you can do one, and then I'll do a couple Baez ones.
sounds good.
All right. So I mentioned the Vin Scully muscle flex. So again, if you're new to our show, we go to Cubs.com, look in the comments section, and find what can only be defined as an internet muscle flex, or described as an internet muscle flex. So this one says, Vin Scully is terrible. It irked me to hear him say that Cubs fans are not interested in having a winning team, so the front office doesn't bother to put one on the field. He loves to subtly jab other teams in the hiney. And to think he is coming back for another year, they should just put him out to pasture.
Oh, man. That subtle jabbing in the hiney.
I hate it when old men subtly jab me in the hiney.
Just be firm about it if that's what you're going to do.
Stop all this gentle, soft.
Right, just own it. Okay, here's the second one. Maybe Theo and Jed's circus act can keep Baez and Bryant down long enough to develop them as well as they help develop Jackson and Vitters. Rah rah.
Oh my gosh. Dang.
That's part of the Paulo army.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the original commenter basically asked why isn't Baez being called up, and so here's the response. Then Cubs fans would show up and rooftop owners would make money. Nothing is going to happen until the stadium deal happens. So basically, the Cubs are making the team bad to punish the rooftops.
Oh, man.
Like some of these people, like you kind of forget that not only are they idiots as far as what goes on in the field, they're also like idiots as far as like business.
Just walking down the street.
All right, so go ahead with yours, Andy.
Sure. I wish this had something to do with Baez or something like that, but this one delighted me. This is actually this is from @Facebook Cubs. I follow on Twitter.
Oh man, if you're listening, you need to follow that Twitter account.
Yes, it's highly entertaining. Still, I mean, I have more faith in the Cubs fan base after reading @Facebook Cubs posts than I do after reading the greatest fans in the earth or whatever the Cardinals one. Anyway, here it is. Barney was a second grader. He stunk like Mike Fontenoy, his friend. Boo LSU Tiger baseball players. That's where both played in college.
Oh man. Whew. Oh.
So awesome.
Maybe a little mixed up with Ryan Theriot. Maybe. Botno went to Oregon State. I mean, Barney went to Oregon State.
Nowhere close to LSU.
Oh, man. Oh. Okay. So these are from the today's article on Baez being promoted. Okay. The first commenter says, Baez was the 9th pick in the first round in 2011. You don't have to pick first to get quality. These players were taken before Baez that year. Garrett Cole, Danny Holtzen, Trevor Bauer, Dylan Bundy, Bubba Starlin, Anthony Rendon, Archie Bradley, and Francisco Lindor. How many do you recognize? And the next person commented, all of them, but I do follow baseball fairly deeply. Okay, this is from the same article, of course. You know, Baez was promoted, and this person simply says, told you all he would be the first.
What?
Yeah, this guy knew it. He had some inside information. He knew Baez would be the first one called up.
Relative to what? Oh my
right,
God.
I guess technically Alcantara, maybe. Okay, so here's commenter number 1, says, Theo's job is on the line. This has been a truly awful run for the club. seems like a desperation move. Okay, so
it's like a 3-year desperation move.
right. So here is like a secondary flex, agreeing with the original commenter. So the next commenter says, a friend of mine said Theo was called in to speak with the owners a day or two ago and read the riot act. My understanding is Theo needs to start bringing these kids up and get this team going or get out of town. So this guy, he knows that Theo was called in and read the riot act.
Oh my! Oh yeah, yeah. So he is of enough importance that he's in the room for that. And then he goes and posts on the the comment.
No, he said a friend of mine said.
Oh, a friend of mine.
Friend of his. All right, a friend of his told him that Theo was called in to the owners, and Todd just laid into him, read him the riot act. Todd and Laura just. I don't know. So here's what I think. I think that the IVMV shirt should on the back said, "I just read Theo the riot act."
There you go. That's funny.
Or no, a friend of mine read Theo the riot. Oh my gosh. So we should just do full shows of muscle flexes.
I did find a new one, but it's too trolly to even bother with.
Oh. You don't want
I think it's somebody just trying to
stir the pot.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I think that one's a good one to end on.
Yeah, I think so too. I kind of like ending these episodes with the internet muscle flex. I think it's a good note to end on. We should start doing that. All right, well, that does it for this week's episode, which was brought to you by the Hall of Fame level contributors to our Patreon campaign: Jeremy, Dallas, Sean, Charles, Andrew, Jane, Tony, Shane, and Michael. And again, we'd also like to thank Sean for joining and contributing here in the last couple weeks. The Cubs obviously are going to be in Denver for that series with the Rockies. Javier Baez making his MLB debut Tuesday night, and the series goes through Thursday, and then back to Wrigley for a weekend series with the Rays. You guys think that there's going to be a little bit of a buzz up there? I think.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think it's going to be buzzy up there. So again, we'll have a bonus episode for you this week. My interview with Randy Wehofer from the Iowa Cubs will go up on Thursday morning. Again, he's the play-by-play broadcaster for the Iowa Cubs. And we will be back next Sunday night. And if you want to watch it live and join other Cubs fans in the chat, you can go to ivmv.com/live. Thank you for listening and downloading. And thanks to those of you that showed up on the chat tonight. And until Sunday evening, go Cubs.
In line, I long to be inside your company. Maybe you know we'll go wherever you want it to.
Hey, that was actually fairly short.
That's what I was gonna say. That seemed like a really efficient episode.
It was. It was like we should always like prepare.
We covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was an hour and 18 minutes. That's not too bad.
Good.
Isn't that kind of a typical length?
Not recently. It seems like they've been going
like over an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. So I saw those. I told you guys about those those boxes of baseball cards. I think there's like thousands of them.
Oh man.
Yeah, they were like piled up. I just saw the boxes.
Are they like opened in crusty condition?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh, you didn't actually look at the cards?
No, I didn't have a key to get into that door, so I just looked at them through the window. They had to change all of our locks over the summer, so.
Does somebody threaten to kill you on Google?
No.
How to kill Corey.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing posted, so.
Coolness.
Oh, yeah, so let's, shoot, I don't have time to, put all of those names in that drawing thing, so let's, I don't know.
Do you want to do it on that random thing, like random generator thing?
Yeah. But let's do it after the next episode because
Okay.
I kind of want to do it when the chat can watch. That way, you know, they don't think there's anything fishy going
I don't
on.
think anyone is going to accuse us of gypping them on a Baez jersey.
Yeah, my mom, I think, was a little. I think she felt that I went a little bit too much out of my way to make sure that that I wasn't accused.
It wasn't rigged.
Right. For our last drawing, but yeah. What are you guys okay with doing it after the next episode, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or Kurt, if you want to do it on your own time, and then just let me know who won.
Bro, yeah, if you want to email me
I'll email you the list, and then you can do it, and just let me know who won, and then I'll
just
send it to them.
I'll screenshot the result.
Oh, okay,
for
yeah, that's a
you.
good idea. Yeah.
You can.
Oh, and also, my mom wanted me to find out. So you want to go to Pokey?
What?
I do.
Okay. Because are you going by yourself?
Well, it depends, and if you are going, then I won't. But if nobody else is going, Lana might go.
Okay, because my mom and my brother are gonna go, and so I was thinking that if you wanted to go, like, sit with us, we could just get tickets, and then.
Yeah, that would be good because it will be like assigned seating in the Angler, which is
Right. Yeah.
not the best place to see a show, but it'll be good.
And
But
since my mom is watching right now in the chat, I'm assuming that she's hearing this conversation. So.
Yes, I want to go too, Mom.
Kurt can't go to spring training, but he can go see Pokey Lafarge. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited.
When the three of you get really hammered, you can sleep in my basement.
Right.
I think it's on a Tuesday or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think I'm gonna have to.
It's gonna be a really good show, though. I'm so excited. Some of the other people that are playing, Dom Flemons from the Carolina Chocolate Drops will be there by himself, and yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Central Time Tour.
I'm so happy I'm singing La La La, you know.
Yeah.
Andy, are you on the Pokey Lafarge train yet?
Yeah, I like him.
He's-
I haven't listened to that much, but yeah, I like what I heard.
Well, if you're interested in going, let me know.
When is it?
September
20
something.
22nd
Let's see.
or something like that.
Okay.
It is during the week.
Yeah. And it doesn't start till like 8.
24th, maybe.
That's probably going to be a no then if it's during the week and starts
Yeah,
late.
it's a Tuesday night. And I don't think it starts till 8. And there's like
September 23rd.
there's 2 people opening, and then Pokey Lafarge.
He's
Oh,
got to
there's
come
more.
around
Oh,
here at
there's
some
3.
point, right?
There's
Yeah,
like four openers.
Yeah, I think he's playing in he's from Bloomington originally.
Yeah.
I think he's playing in Bloomington. He's playing
September
in
18th in Bloomington.
not that that's any closer to you.
Chicago, September 19th.
That's not that far from Galesburg, though, is it? It's like an hour?
Bloomington's like an hour and a half.
Hmm.
But I mean, wait, he's playing in Bloomington on what night?
September 18th.
What night of the week that is? It's got to be during the week. I bet it's Thursday.
Yeah, because then he's playing in Chicago the next night, which is probably a weekend.
Yeah.
September 18th is a Thursday and 19th is a Friday.
Yeah, I couldn't do Thursday night. Yeah. My mom said in the chat.
They're pretty good. They're a good bluegrass band.
So Andy, you think you'd probably be out?
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe, since my mom asked in the chat, I believe 4 total, because I think Patrick's going. Does Lana want a ticket too?
No, if I've got people to go, she'll just stay home. Like, she was just going to go just to keep me company.
To hold your hand.
And be at a show.
I'll hold your hand,
Yeah.
Kurt.
Oh, awesome. I'm excited. We could slow dance to some of the slow pokey tunes.
Doesn't he have that bow-legged woman song?
That's not on the new album, is it?
I don't know what album that's on.
I've been listening to the new one. Let's see.
Yeah, at first I wasn't sold on it. I really do like the horn, so yeah.
Yeah.
But okay. So yeah, 4 total. All right, I'm gonna get going so I can get this thing edited.
Cool.
All right. See you
All right.
later.
I didn't hear any edits in there. Did you guys?
I don't
think so. I didn't write anything down. And then
There were
It might be
couple
kind of
moments
if you
where voices garbled, but
yeah, I don't care about that.
yeah.
if you stuff at the beginning where we're laughing really hard, it might be fun to like sprinkle that in somewhere, like at the beginning or something.
Do what?
You remember what were we talking about at the beginning when we just died laughing?
I didn't record that.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, it was when we were talking about A&D search results.
Yes.
I know. I really wish I would have been recording that because I would have stuck it in at the end. But no, I wasn't recording.
All right, then. I don't think there's any edits.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
I'll see you guys later.
See ya.